Certainty Principle by David Light, Chapter 7, Sections point 4 and point 5. My process of deciphering Bogle's horizons was like coming home. The conclusion there is no escaping accountability for my choices of action is like arriving back where it all started. Childlike clarity between right and wrong, true and false. Myopic judgment is bounded by peer pressure, politics, and the vanity of identity. Capitulation to the unlimited accountability for my choices is comforting because it is so fundamentally and irrefutably certain, relieving me of years of artificial identity constraints. My brain differentiates for a living. That's what I pay it for. But such calculus diminishes me when the brain's problem-solving processes venture too far from wisdom, so far from wisdom that they lack great perspective. Choosing expedience over perspective, I venture farther and farther from wisdom. Short horizons bring waywardness, leading to confusion, boredom, and fear. I understand that acquiring wisdom matters. Once I accept that, like it or not, there is no escaping the physics or the consequence of my actions. A fix on forever assures that my choice of action will be wisely aligned with the values of my mandate. CEOs lead, senators cast votes, doctors diagnose, all based on their self-interests, of course. But those interests change based on their perspective on their individual accountability. Aligning brain work with horizons sets up a self-reinforcing cycle. The longer my horizon, the more numerous the stars there are in the alignment, and the more important the picture my mandate becomes to my work. So what I mean by that is when you have the longer view, it allows you, number one, your values are long-term. They aren't short-term, therefore self-serving. Long-term values have a tendency to be have greater scope, more significance, driven by, for lack of a better term, more virtuous objectives. So that's important, to have one portion of your brain that's always there, that long-term temporal perspective, so-called. Aligning brain with work, with horizon, sets up a self-reinforcing cycle. The longer my horizon, the more numerous the stars there are in alignment, and the more important the picture of my mandate becomes. So you kind of get that story now. For better or for worse, those who change history perceive themselves historically. I'm going to quote Lincoln here, and Lincoln is a clear case if you read his biography. He would envision himself walking with King David and King Solomon and Jesus and Moses, and that's how he saw himself. Quote, "We cannot escape history. No relative significance or insignificance will spare one or another of us." Period. Lincoln, 1862 State of the Union Address. This is a very important speech. To me personally, it would be to you personally also if you read it over and over again. It's a penetrating speech, but especially this part. We cannot escape history. No relative significance or insignificance can spare one or another of us. The fiery trials through which we pass will light us down in honor or dishonor to the latest generation. Even we here, hold the power and bear the responsibility. Really, really accurate, true, and uncommon wisdom. Mandate tenacity. The struggle to master mandate is tedious, tiring, and even dangerous work. Learning to hike high terrain is tough. The legs burn, the muscles build. Climbing back down is a little easier, requiring only the skill and confidence to avoid falling. But there's always a higher hill to climb out on the horizon, so long as one maintains the confidence to focus on climbing it. Reinhold Messner, quote unquote, "Those who reach their goals perish." Yeah, there's always a higher objective, or there should be if you apply TCP, infinite horizons. There's always going to be a greater goal for you personally, driven by your values. And Messner, read about Messner. He's probably the greatest alpinist of all time, scaled many 8,000 meter peaks, no oxygen solo, which is superhuman. My forward momentum is maintained as long as unlimited possibilities are my central operating perspective. Again, like alternately hiking up and down an elevation, I must pay attention to the path. Distractions are distracting. Periodically checking my progress against my horizon keeps me en route. Daily reminders of where I am headed enable me to keep the struggle in perspective. Yeah, you stub your toe, it's no big deal if you're headed to the moon. If you're only headed down the sidewalk, it's a big deal. I hope that metaphor works for you. My last thought at night, my first in the morning is TCP. My horizons are forever. My horizons are forever. It is no longer an abstraction to me. It is a device for keeping the impingements of the external world at bay. Sailing ships have a ballast keel, enabling them to remain upright against a force of wind. When the boat is tacking or jibing, the keel counters the torque produced by the wind on the sail. TCP is the ballast keel that enables me to make the necessary course adjustments, even dangerous ones, that would be fearful or even impossible without it. To establish my business with confidence and an otherwise unreasonable expectation of success is enabled by me knowing that doing so is necessary or a necessity of my mandate. TCP dictates that I have no other choice regarding these apparent impediments. Yeah, and sometimes that's all it boils down to. Got to do it. Don't have any choice. Not like, I think I'll put it off. Let's go have a sandwich. Whether or not Bogle's bombshell was intended to convey, all of this is immaterial at this point. His words felt primal, as if I'd been given one of the great keys to it all. It's important to mention here that foreverism was not in any sense a religious revelation for me. This is physics, not religion. It was like finally finding the bedrock after a long dig. It was like putting my hands on something solid, durable, practical, of being grounded. The same truth that has been communicated to me through the wisdom of great thinkers remained unacknowledged until I received that message, and I never looked back. This is not to say that such revelation is encouraging. The prospect that there is no way out of absolute accountability was at first nauseating. I wondered, did foreverism imply that I was destined to be a victim of the situations I encountered? Was I a rudderless boat bobbing on a great ocean of conditionals without a map? Or did it mean learning to fashion a rudder and a sextant, navigate the course to my goals, and adapt the correct conditions, adapt to the conditions as I encountered them? Liberation came from this surrender to self-reliance. Discovering permanent self-accountability meant eliminating reliance on forces beyond my control that influence my outcomes while committing deeply to those within my control, what I call my incomes. My duty was to deal with the unique tasks and problems encountered with the incomes within my control. A deeper understanding came to me. It does not matter whether there was a way out of my accountability or not. Foreverism is a decision of mind. It's an important statement. It doesn't really matter whether there's a way to escape accountability or not. You're accountable. Foreverism is a decision of mind. It is its own reward. It is far more exciting for me to assume ultimate and eternal responsibility for the instant than at any alternate frame of reference that I could choose to adopt. In this sense, the certainty principle is a bit like climate change. The science is a little foggy, but at some final analysis, it may be better to choose to err on the side of residual personal accountability. In TCP, we tackle as scientifically as possible this question: what is the value of knowing I am forever? What are the implications to purpose, outcomes, and my identity?